We have to see what they decide to do about Texas, but I think that the president of the United States encouraging Texas being willing to do this, should be an indicator to the rest of us that that if they're going to cheat, that's not a proper way to act. If we were doing what they were doing, that in fact we would counterbalance, indeed take control of the Congress. I think we ought to play by the rules.
A few moments later.
Every major group that grades the fairness of congressional maps gives your state an F. Common Cause, a nonpartisan government watchdog, even says your map, and I'm going to quote, represents a nearly perfect model for everything that can go wrong with redistricting. And I guess the question is, you talk about preserving democracy. How do you preserve democracy if you're using the same tactics that you've criticized Texas Republicans for?
Wait a damn minute. What? What's up, everybody? It's your girl, Mika, and we're back for another Red Cup Talks, because this is where truth, pop culture, and politics meet. So I had to come on and talk about the delusional Democrats and the biggest one, yes, literally the biggest one, J.B. Pritzker. If you don't know who J.B. Pritzker is, he is the governor of Illinois, all right? And now we all know what he's been saying lately as it pertains to gerrymandering. Now, if you don't know, Texas has been gerrymandering their maps. Yes, they are redrawing their maps, and they have decided that they were going to continue doing this, and the Democrats decided that they were not going to participate. So they left the state. And one of the states that the Democrats decided to flee to was Illinois. Now, it's so funny because they said they left because the Republicans were cheating by redrawing the map. And oh boy, they fled to a state like Illinois that's historically known for redrawing the maps. I mean, redrawing them so much that even though 40% of the state is Republican, the Republicans only have 3 seats. When I tell you it's ridiculous, it's ridiculous. However, I want to get into this interview with Meet the Press and the hypocritical J.B. Pritzker, because you're going to see exactly how much Democrats are hypocritical. And even when you bring receipts, they still want to spend. Watch.
Well, let's talk about the issue at hand here. Texas Republicans being urged by President Trump, as you just said, are pushing this mid-decade redistricting plan. Their goal is to add as many as 5 GOP seats. In response to Democrats like yourself are thinking of drawing your own maps to boost seats in blue states. Take a listen to what Texas Governor Greg Abbott told my colleague Ryan Chandler about that. Take a look.
What's your message to governors like Newsom, Hochul, Pritzker, who have said they will retaliate if Texas does this?
They have no capability. They've already gerrymandered their states in ways in which they don't have hardly any Republican members of Congress. Look at the map of Illinois. It's drawn in such a way that they can't even squeeze out another Republican. It's a joke.
What's your response to Governor Abbott?
Well, Governor Abbott is the joke. He's the one who is attempting this decade here at a time when, frankly, all of us are concerned about the future of democracy. He's literally helping whittle it away and licking the boots of his leader, Donald Trump. Here in Illinois, we followed the law. We provided a map and passed a map that follows the Voting Rights Act and the Constitution and the laws of the state of Illinois. He's attempting to thwart federal law and take away 5 seats that are in the hands of Black, brown, minority congresspeople and the people that they represent. He's taking those votes away. He's violating the Constitution. And all of us need to stand up and speak out and make sure that it's understood across the country that what they're trying to do in Texas is illegal.
Let me tell you what's wrong with everything that JB just said, all right? He knows that gerrymandering is not only a problem on the Democratic side, it's a problem in his state. Yes, he has the most and the biggest, and I do mean the biggest, he has the biggest problem with gerrymandering. And he knows that identity politics, okay, when you put these Black and brown Congress people in, you get to gerrymander around their little population. And so you have all of these people in one concentrated area, and these people are the ones voting for Democrat. No representation for everybody else. There's only but so many seats. And so they make these little pockets that they know they will win. And it's wrong.
Might be rare, I should say, but Texas actually tried to redraw districts mid-decade before in 2003, and the U.S. Supreme Court actually upheld the map in that case with the exception of one district. So the argument that Abbott is making is it's not illegal, though they are doing it certainly in an off year. But I do want to look at the map of Illinois. Let's take a look at this. Despite President Trump winning 44% of the statewide vote in 2024, Republicans hold only 3 of Illinois' 17 districts. These districts seem to be designed to maximize Democratic advantage. What do you say to those who argue that it's hypocritical for you to criticize Texas for partisanship when your state also drew maps to boost your party's standing?
Receipts.
Well, remember that what Texas is trying to do is, again, violate the Voting Rights Act. We didn't. We held public hearings, legislative hearings. People attended them. They spoke out. There was a map that was put out. There were actually changes made to the map. And a map was passed. And it was done at the end of the census, the decennial census. So that's how it's done in this country. You talked about how rare it is to do what he's doing. Yes, it is. What's even rarer is to do it at the behest of the president of the United States, who's clearly attempting to and says that he deserves to have 5 more seats. He's wrong. And he's attempting to change the game because, again, he passed this big, ugly bill. It's hyper unpopular in Texas, among people in Texas and across the country. And he knows he's going to lose the Congress in 2026. That's why he's going to his allies and hoping that they can save him. And we've all got to stand up against this. It's cheating. Donald Trump is a cheater. He cheats on his wives. He cheats at golf. And now he's trying to cheat the American people out of their vote.
I know this man is not talking about anybody cheating. Okay, he's a Democrat. And who is the biggest cheater on the Democratic Party? Bill Clinton. He just looks out his door. Yeah, that's how Bill Clinton cheats, okay? So let's not talk about anybody cheating. And then for God's sakes, he's like 95,000 pounds. You cheat on your diet every day. I am sure of it. But let's go ahead and talk about the politics of this, right? Because he did not answer the question. He did not answer the question. The question was what? The question was, do you have anything to say to people that say your map does the same thing that you're accusing Texas of? He didn't say anything. You know why? Because he can't. He can't say anything because he is a cheater, okay? We visibly see it, okay? You had 2 burgers and you just woke up. So at the end of the day, these Democrats are hypocritical as always, but we're going to let them finish.
Well, look, sticking on your state's map, every major group that grades the fairness of congressional maps gives your state an F.
Not an F.
Common Cause, a nonpartisan government watchdog, even says your map, and I'm going to quote, represents a nearly perfect model for everything that can go wrong with redistricting. And I guess the question is, you talk about preserving democracy. How do you preserve democracy if you're using the same tactics that you've criticized Texas Republicans for?
Let's hear it.
But as I say, what they're talking about is a distraction. The reality is that the violation of people's voting rights is what Texas is attempting to do. That's what's wrong with their efforts right now. And the fact that the president of the United States knows it and nevertheless is asking them to do it. That is what's wrong with what we're seeing right now. Democracy is at stake. And these Texas Democrats are standing up to what the GOP is attempting to do, which is to steal seats because they know what they've done is wrong. They know that they've made an enormous mistake.
And what you're trying to do is gaslight us, okay? You're trying to gaslight us into thinking that you do not do anything wrong. Sir, they gave you an F, an independent, nonpartisan source, meaning it didn't come from either party, all right? This is an entity that goes and grades states based off their maps, said that Illinois had an F, a Democratic state had an F. And that's because they gerrymandered to these populated areas that have Democratic voters and they leave the rest of the state out. All right. That's how they do these maps. And nobody saw these maps. He's a whole liar. Just like you had to go get somebody to draw that suit on a piece of paper so it could fit because we know your size is not available. You went and drew these maps the same exact way. At the end of the day, you guys never made that public. And that's why they gave you an F. All right, so you guys just saw that. You saw J.B. Pritzker sit there and receive a big fat F because he's a big fat lie, okay? He's lying. We all know that Illinois is the worst, okay? And now a nonpartisan independent group has said such. It is the worst in this country. It's worse than any red state, all right? It has an F grading when it comes to maps. That map that they have for Illinois is gerrymandered. And when they asked on this program, he could not respond and did not want to respond because there's nothing that the Democrats could say because it is exactly what they're claiming that Texas is doing wrong. Now I want to move on to what J.B. Pritzker did after this. He decided to go on Colbert, another failing liberal, okay? He decided to go on Colbert's show and talk as if this was going to help his case and help the Democrats' case. But I guess because they're talking about, fighting, this is where they go fight. However, a local news station in Illinois also picked up on the fact that he was on Colbert and decided to go ahead and talk about everything that's wrong with J.B. Pritzker and Illinois. Watch.
Tuesday night, Governor J.B. Pritzker made an appearance on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. He joked about Illinois' political map, saying kindergartners drew our congressional districts. Now, the remark comes during a broader conversation about political maps, including the fight happening right now over redistricting in Texas. In fact, just today, the FBI agreed to track down Democrats who left the state because of the issue. So let's bring in Harrison Belsante here. Harrison, you try to get a few perspectives on how Illinois plays into all of this.
Yeah, John, Texas Democrats are actually now fleeing the state to block the vote, like you said, and Governor J.B. Pritzker is now welcoming them here to Illinois. But as you're about to see, experts and critics argue Illinois has its own gerrymandering problem.
Please welcome to The Late Show, Governor J.B. Pritzker.
Critics point to Illinois' 17th congressional district from Rock Island to Rockford as a clear case of partisan map making.
We have some crazy districts in Illinois. Take a look at this. Look at 17 here. It does that. Then it comes up here and it sneaks around there and goes all the way up here.
Well, we handed it over to a kindergarten class and let them decide.
The fact that he was able to joke about that and the liberals in the audience laughed and Colbert didn't say anything. And the fact that Colbert sat there and pointed out that it looks ridiculous. How do you just go up and around and come back around and come? He created a whole boot, okay? A whole boot out of a map just so he could get the Democrats that are in that area. They push them into an area and leave out everybody else, okay? You see the bottom one that comes over like a finger? It's like how do you do these types of things? Because they're allowed to do it. And this is how they gerrymander. And they're laughing about it. It's highly ridiculous.
State House reporter Ben Solinsky says new lines pushed the district safely into Democratic hands.
That's a really perfect example of Democrat gerrymandering. They took a district that wasn't quite in their corner.
Augustana College political scientist Paul Bumgarner says the design isn't just unusual, it's strategic.
Illinois is aggressively gerrymandered, has been aggressively gerrymandered.
He says districts drawn to guarantee a winner can discourage participation. Illinois House Minority Leader Tony McComey agrees, saying the impact of gerrymandering extends beyond party lines and voters across the state are feeling it.
They are so disenfranchised, not only in the Quad City area, but Rockford and Chicago and St. Louis, even in Democrat cities.
While redistricting usually happens after the census, states like Texas are now trying to redraw maps mid-decade. According to Capital News Illinois, Pritzker calls those efforts cheating and defends Illinois' 2021 map despite criticism, saying it was drawn properly and remains constitutional.
We really are in uncharted waters.
Illinois' current congressional map got an F grade from the nonpartisan Princeton Gerrymandering Project, citing failures in fairness and competition. The lines are set until 2031, but debate over how they're drawn and who they benefit continued.
All right, so you guys seen and heard all of that, right? But I wanted to go back to this map here at the beginning because look at this map. This map is ridiculous. Why not just slice each district, straight down the middle? No, you have to do all of this rigmarole. And the reason why they're doing it is because they want to get all those highly dense Democratic areas in one district, right? And so they just keep redistricting and redistricting and redistricting, but then the people get disenfranchised, okay? Even Democrats, they're getting disenfranchised because the Democratic Party that runs this state, they are gerrymandering the state to death. Look, they may not have done this in the middle of the decade, but they sure did gerrymander, and they did a bad job to the point they have an F, and I see why. And why J.B. Pritzker wants to sit there on Colbert, putting a dent in his couch, I'm telling you, the big fat liar that is J.B. Pritzker is not going to be able to gerrymander this anymore. Like, he can't do anything. What else can he do? The rest of the state is red. And he knows it. Just like California, just like New York. Like, I don't know why they keep talking about this, because they're not going to be able to do it. The lady on Meet the Press, I'll give it to her this time. And for some of the questions, they were actually pretty good. Okay. She asked really good questions this time. However, I thought she could have pressed more on this gerrymandering issue, because look at this map. Okay, this map is highly ridiculous with Illinois. And every time he spun that, she should have came right back with it. Because if it was Donald Trump or anybody that support Trump or anybody that says Trump or anybody that wears a hat that looks like a Trump hat, yeah, she would have pushed back. So I would have liked to have seen a little more pushback. However, he didn't even answer the questions, which lets me know that he knows exactly what he's doing. You guys, get down in the comments, like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know what you think about, J.B. Pritzker and his big fat lies sitting up there on Meet the Press and on Colbert, okay? And let me know what you think about the local news doing a whole story on it, talking about that state is gerrymandered to death. And the Democratic parties were even on there talking about it, as well as the Republican parties, because they know that this disenfranchises not only the other side of the aisle, but Democrats as well. You can't make it up. You guys get down in the comments, like, comment, and subscribe. It's your girl Mika, and I'm out. Peace.